From icy forests to golden palaces, from mighty Tsars to revolution and war, this is the story of Russia, a land that rose from small kingdoms to one of the world's most powerful empires. Through centuries of glory, tragedy, and rebirth, we unlock the complete history of Russia. Welcome to History Unlock. The story of Russia begins in the expansive forests and rivers of Eastern Europe, where in the 9th century, Viking traders known as the Rus settled near Novgorod, and Kiev ultimately founding the first Russian state, Kievan Rus. This powerful center flourished as a hub of trade between Byzantium and Europe, and in 988, Prince Vladimir the Great adopted Christianity, forever shaping Russia's religion and culture. Yet, by the 13th century, Mongol invaders swept across the land, destroying cities and ruling over Russia for more than 200 years, leaving a lasting impact on the nation's history. The impact of Mongol rule instilled fear and hardship among the people, shaping a complex relationship between authority and resistance throughout the land. Yet even in the shadow of oppression, the spirit of the Russian people endured, with communities finding strength in their shared history and culture, laying the groundwork for future resilience. As the sun rose over the vast Russian plains, the seeds of unity began to take root among the fragmented principalities, setting the stage for the eventual rise of a powerful nation. As Kievan Rus fell, a new power was rising: Moscow. The princes of Moscow paid tribute to the Mongols, but quietly built their strength. In 1380, Prince Dmitry Donskoy led Russian forces to victory at Kulikovo, marking the first major step toward freedom. By the late 1400s, Ivan III, known as Ivan the Great, threw off Mongol control and united Russian lands, declaring himself the Tsar of all Russia. As the strategic location of Moscow attracted merchants and settlers, its influence began to expand across the region. The natural resources surrounding the city allowed for flourishing agriculture and trade routes, solidifying Moscow's growing importance. During a grand ceremony in the Kremlin, Ivan III was crowned Tsar, symbolizing the unity of the Russian lands and the dawn of a new era. The unification under Ivan III set the stage for greater political and military strength, as Moscow began to assert dominance over surrounding territories. A strategically drawn map showcased the newly controlled regions, illustrating the expanding influence of Moscow in trade and power. In opulent halls, Russian nobles convened to forge alliances and strategies, contributing to the city's role as a central hub in the formation of a unified Russian state. Ivan IV, known as Ivan the Terrible, became Russia's first crowned Tsar, a ruler whose reign would be marked by both great expansion and deep-seated paranoia. He expanded the empire eastward into Siberia, while simultaneously creating a notorious secret police that instilled fear among nobles and common citizens alike. But his growing paranoia led to violence. He executed nobles and even killed his own son in a moment of uncontrolled fury, leaving a legacy of terror behind. When he died, Russia descended into chaos known as the Time of Troubles, a period marked by civil unrest and power struggles, leaving the nation fractured and vulnerable. During this tumultuous era, various factions emerged, each claiming legitimacy to the throne, plunging the nation deeper into strife and insecurity. Amidst the turmoil, secret alliances were forged and betrayals unfolded, leading to fierce battles as various groups fought desperately for control over a fractured Russia. Faced with the growing instability, the remaining nobles recognized the necessity for unity to restore order, yet distrust lingered among them. In 1613, the Romanov family took the throne, beginning a dynasty that would rule for over 300 years. Under Mikhail Romanov and his successors, Russia stabilized and expanded. Trade grew, the church gained power, and Russia began to look both east and west for influence. The Romanov dynasty continued its legacy, shaping Russia's future with prosperity and cultural richness. As the dynasty progressed, leaders like Peter the Great sought to modernize and expand Russia's influence further. The push for modernization led to significant changes in industry and military, setting the stage for Russia's place on the world stage. While the elite flourished, challenges remained for the common people, highlighting the contrasts within Russian society under the Romanov dynasty. The richness of culture and faith continued to flourish, influencing the identity of the Russian people throughout the Romanov era. Catherine the Great emerged as a pivotal figure, further expanding the empire and solidifying the Romanov dynasty's place in history. Then came Peter the Great, the man who transformed Russia into a European superpower. He modernized the army, built a navy, and moved the capital from Moscow to St. Petersburg, his window to the west. Peter reformed schools, government, and industry, but ruled with iron discipline. By his death, Russia was one of Europe's strongest nations. Peter the Great left behind a legacy that would shape Russia for generations to come. His vision and relentless pursuit of progress forged a path that would propel Russia into the modern era. The echoes of his leadership resonate through time, illustrating the remarkable transformation of a nation. Through innovation and determination, he not only reshaped a country, but also rekindled its spirit for exploration and growth. His legacy is one of ambition, courage, and an unwavering belief in the potential of a nation to rise. Today we remember Peter the Great not just as a ruler, but as a visionary who carved a new identity for Russia. His influence continues to inspire generations, reminding us of the power of leadership and the courage to enact change. Nearly a century later, another remarkable ruler, Catherine the Great, expanded Russia even further, conquering lands from the Ottoman Empire, annexing Crimea, and supporting the arts and science. Under her reign, Russia achieved the height of its imperial glory, yet class divisions between nobles and peasants deepened. Catherine the Great actively engaged with artists and scholars in her grand palace, discussing new ideas and promoting cultural growth, embodying an era of enlightenment. Meanwhile, in rural villages, peasants worked tirelessly in the fields, starkly contrasting the opulence of noble estates, highlighting the deepening class divisions. At her court, a grand celebration unfolded with nobles adorned in elegant costumes, reveling in a lavish banquet that reflected the wealth of her reign. From a balcony, Catherine the Great proudly observed a military parade, witnessing her troops display their strength, emblematic of her formidable military prowess. The 1800s brought wars and revolutions, starting with Napoleon's invasion of Russia in 1812, which ended in his defeat by the freezing winter and fierce resistance from the Russian people. Yet while Europe industrialized, most Russians remained poor serfs, enduring harsh conditions until Tsar Alexander II finally freed them in 1861, but not without dire consequences. By the early 1900s, the empire was struggling under Tsar Nicholas II as poverty widespread strikes, and the pressures of war pushed the nation toward an inevitable crisis. As the nation faced the devastating toll of World War I, public discontent reached a boiling point, leading many to rise against the oppressive rule of the Tsars, igniting the flames of revolution. The spirit of revolution fueled the streets as the call for change reverberated through Russia, culminating in the historic events that would ultimately lead to the fall of the Tsars. In 1917, Tsar Nicholas II's abdication marked the end of centuries of imperial rule, paving the way for the Bolshevik Revolution that would forever alter the course of Russian history. 1917 changed everything. After years of suffering in World War I, Russia erupted in revolution. Vladimir Lenin and the Bolsheviks overthrew the Tsar, ending 300 years of Romanov rule. The country plunged into a brutal civil war between the Red and White armies. When it ended, a new nation was born, the Soviet Union. The revolution sparked profound changes across society as new ideas took root and the people envisioned a different future. With the revolution came a radical transformation of society, reshaping education and industry in the pursuit of equality. Amidst the triumphs, the scars of conflict lingered, reminding the people of the sacrifices made for their newfound ideals. The struggle for stability continued, as leaders crafted policies to build a new society, navigating both internal and external challenges. Cultural expression flourished alongside military might, as the Soviet Union aimed to project its strength both at home and abroad. The revolution's legacy lived on through grassroots movements, as citizens continued to push for their rights and a say in the new government. Under Joseph Stalin, the Soviet Union industrialized at lightning speed, but at a terrible cost. Millions were executed, imprisoned, or starved during the Great Purge and Famine. Yet by the 1940s, the USSR became a global power, defeating Nazi Germany in World War II after the brutal Battle of Stalingrad. Stalin's death in 1953 marked the end of one of the darkest chapters in Russian history. As the nation grappled with his legacy, a wave of change began to sweep through the Soviet Union. The aftermath of Stalin's regime sparked a desire for reform among the populace, leading to a period of significant transformation. Nikita Khrushchev's rise to power brought forth a new era as he openly criticized Stalin's brutal regime and sought to distance the Soviet Union from its oppressive past. With a breath of fresh air, the nation began to experience a cultural thaw, leading to increased artistic expression and social freedoms. Art and culture blossomed as citizens began to express themselves freely, challenging the constraints that had long suppressed their voices. After World War II, the world was divided into two: the United States and the Soviet Union. For decades, they competed in an ideological and nuclear arms race, the Cold War. Russia launched the first satellite Sputnik and sent Yuri Gagarin, the first human, into space. But by the 1980s, economic problems and political pressure began to break the Soviet system. As tensions eased, significant events unfolded, such as the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, symbolizing the end of division and the decline of Soviet influence. By the late 1980s, the struggles within the Soviet Union led to widespread protests and demands for reform, highlighting the people's desire for change. The reforms of Mikhail Gorbachev ignited a wave of change, ultimately leading to the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991 and the end of the Cold War. The year 1991 marked a dramatic turning point as the Soviet Union officially dissolved, concluding the Cold War and ushering in a new era of change and challenges. In 1991, under Mikhail Gorbachev, reforms known as perestroika and glasnost aimed to modernize the USSR, but unexpectedly accelerated its collapse, leading to numerous republics declaring independence and ultimately the official dissolution of the Soviet Union. As the red flag was lowered from the Kremlin for the last time, crowds gathered in celebration wielding symbols of freedom as a new era began with the birth of the Russian Federation on the ruins of the old regime. The map of the former Soviet Union illustrated the rapid changes with newly independent republics emerging and the once united Union now fragmented, reflecting a shift towards self-determination and national identities. In the heart of the Russian Federation, everyday families faced economic challenges and uncertainty as news of reforms and protests filled the streets, revealing the complex emotions of hope and fear in this transformative time. As markets began to fill with goods from both tradition and the West, the Russian Federation embraced a new economic reality, while Boris Yeltsin emerged as a voice of hope and reform, guiding the nation through uncharted waters. The 1990s were turbulent: economic collapse, corruption, and change. Then came Vladimir Putin, promising stability and strength. Russia rebuilt its economy, became a global energy giant, and reasserted its military power. But international conflicts, sanctions, and political control defined the new century. Today, Russia remains one of the most influential and controversial nations on Earth, a bridge between East and West with a history as vast as its land. As Russia navigates the complexities of modern geopolitics, its people continue to adapt and redefine their identity in a rapidly changing world. The vibrancy of daily life juxtaposes with the undercurrents of dissent, highlighting the diverse voices that shape Russia's future. Innovation and tradition coexist as Russia embraces a global future while remaining deeply rooted in its historical narratives. Art and community thrive, reflecting the spirit of the Russian people as they navigate their way through challenges and celebrations alike. As innovation flourishes, the heart of Russian culture beats strong, blending tradition with modernity in everyday life. The story unfolds into the rise of revolutionary leaders who challenged the might of empires, igniting flames of change in the hearts of the people. As Lenin rallied the masses, a new era began filled with both promise and peril. The echoes of the past resonate in the struggles of the present as generations continue to fight for their voices to be heard. Through victories and losses, the journey of Russia is an endless quest for identity and power. From military parades that marked triumph to classrooms filled with aspiring minds, Russia's narrative is woven with threads of heritage and aspiration. Each chapter builds upon the last, revealing a complex tapestry of resilience and ambition. As the nation reflects on its past, memorials stand as poignant reminders of sacrifice and perseverance. Yet amidst solemnity, the spirit of celebration shines through, uniting people in pride of their shared culture and history. This was the incredible journey of Russia, from Tsars to revolution, from empires to power. If you enjoyed this historical journey, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because your one like means a lot to History Unlock.